Hello everyone, welcome to Learn for Exam. I am Athra Roy, and in this video we would be talking about quant shortcuts and some tips that I would be giving you for the exams that you are going to take in the recent future. But before I start, please do not forget to download the Learn for Exam app, which provides you all these facilities. The Learn for Exam app is available both on Android Play Store and iOS Store. So let's start. So first, let's talk about a bit of arithmetic. When it comes to arithmetic, I can remember two very important things that I want to tell you people, and that comes from boats and streams. Now I know that the speed of boat is nothing but half of the downstream speed plus the upstream speed, and the speed of river is half of the downstream speed minus the upstream speed. Why minus? Why upstream speed after the minus? Because we always know that downstream speed is always greater than the upstream speed. This is something that would help you remember this formula. After that, let's come to circular motion. Now we know that if the ratio of speeds is a is to b, then the number of meeting points when they are moving in the opposite direction is a plus b, and when they're moving in the same direction, then the number of meeting points would be a minus b. Now, do people also remember the famous formula, famous question rather, where there's a person who always leaves his office, let's say at 5 p.m. and this is his house from where the driver comes in, and the driver always picks him up at 5 p.m. But at a point in time, the person saw that the driver was not at his office at 5 p.m., so he started walking. And for the same reason, he reached his home, let's say, small t minutes early. T minutes early. We essentially have to find out for how much time, that is capital T, this person has to walk. Now, for that question, the amount of time that this person walked, that is the value of t, is given by the formula the difference in timings of actual arrival. So let me write it down: the difference in time of actual arrival and today's arrival minus small t. What is small t? The time in which the person reached his home early. This is the formula for this question. It's essentially t by 2. I'm sorry. It's t by 2. T minutes early, so it would be t by 2. What is the concept behind this? Now, whatever time I'm walking, this person who is driving is saving this much amount of time while going and coming back. So twice of that amount. That is the reason we are using t by 2. A very important formula is stoppage time by a train. Now, stoppage time is given by the formula the difference in speeds divided by the greater speed multiplied by 60 minutes. Now you would be given two speeds, let's say A and B. A train travels at A km per hour when it doesn't stop at a station, B kilometers per hour when it stops at a station. So it essentially would be equal to A minus B, the difference in speeds, divided by the greater speed. Now the greater speed is always when it does not stop at a station, right? So divided by A into 60 minutes is what you would be calculating for this question. Let's talk about clocks and calendars. Now, for clocks and calendars, the angle between the two hands of a clock is given by the formula 11m by 2 minus 30h. The modulus of this, because you essentially have two angles, one counted clockwise, one counted anti-clockwise, and a very important formula, that is the mirror time, is given by the formula that is 12 minus actual time. So if you have this question that it's 5:15 in the mirror, then what would be in the actual? That would be equal to mirror time is equal to 5:15. This is nothing but 12 minus x. So essentially x would be 6:45. 6:45 p.m. or after, it can be AM or PM depending upon the question. But this is a very important formula, that is mirror time is equal to 12 minus actual time. After that, let's come to SICI. Now, when I'm talking about SICI, there's a very important formula, that is the difference between simple interest and compound interest for 2 years. And that formula is given by the difference in amount is equal to the principal multiplied by R by 100 ka whole square. This is something you people have to keep in mind. Also, when it comes to SICI, that's a part of your percentages. A very important thing to keep in mind is product constancy. Now, what does product constancy tell us? Now, if there are two products A into B who have a constant product, there are two terms A and B who have a constant product, that is K, then if one of these two increase by n by p quantity, the other has to decrease by n by n plus p quantity to keep the product same. So if I say that the one quantity increases by 20% or 1/5, then the other quantity should decrease by 1/6. Similarly, if one quantity decreases by n by p, the other quantity should increase by n by p minus n. It should increase by this quantity to keep the product same. These are also very two important formulas that you have to keep in mind. And then after that comes the very, very important formula of mixtures, of replacement, that is initial ratio or initial proportion multiplied by 1 minus x by y whole to the power n is your final ratio or final proportion. I'll also make this ratio. Now, what do you mean by initial initial proportion? I'll make this P, that is means proportion. Initial proportion means the quantity of any liquid, the quantity of, let's say, A divided by the total quantity of the mixture. This also applies for final proportion. Initial proportion and final proportion is of the same quantity. So if you are calculating initial proportion for milk, also make sure you are calculating the final proportion with milk. Now, what is X? X is nothing but the amount of liquid taken out. What is Y? The amount of liquid after replacement. And n gives you the number of iterations or the number of operations. However, there's a very important thing that you have to keep in mind. Let's say I have a mixture of 10 liters of milk. Now I am taking out 2 liters of this mixture and adding in 2 liters of water. Whatever I'm adding, I have to work this question out with the other quantity. So for this question, since I'm adding water, I'll work with the other quantity, that is milk. This formula is applicable for that. It will be very, very efficient if you apply for the other quantity. And why is that? Because the concentration of that liquid is not changing. That is the reason we use that formula. Next, when I'm talking about profit and loss, so what do I have here? When the profit percent is equal to the loss percent, we know that the profit is equal to loss, right? And if profit percent is equal to loss percent and profit is equal to loss, what does that mean? That means the selling price minus the cost price upon the cost price is equal to the cost price minus the selling price upon the cost price. If we cancel off cost prices, then we would find that the cost price of the article is equal to the selling price of the article, or in most cases, the median price is the cost price plus the selling price divided by 2. Now let's talk a bit about algebra. Now when I'm talking about algebra, let me give you some very important information about identities. Now we all know that a plus b into a minus b is equal to a square minus b square. This is very easy, right? Now what about when I have the value of x plus 1 by x is equal to k? What about the value of x square plus 1 by x square? the value of this is k square minus 2. If I have the value of x minus 1 by x to be equal to k, the value of x square minus 1 by x square is k square plus 2. What else information do we have? Uh, when we have the value of x plus 1 by x is equal to k, the value of x cube plus 1 by x cube is equal to k cube minus 3k. And when we have x minus 1 by x is equal to k, the value of x cube minus 1 by x cube is equal to k cube plus 3k. So whenever we have a negative sign, it is a positive sign on the right hand side. Whenever we have a positive sign, it's a negative sign on the right hand side. This is how you remember these four identities. From these four, we also know that when we have the value of a cube plus b cube plus c cube, this is equal to 3abc when a plus b plus c is equal to 0. So a cube plus b cube plus c cube is equal to 3abc when a plus b plus c is equal to 0. There's also two important things that I want to tell you. The value of x plus 1 by x, if this is given as root 3, then the value of x to the power 6 is equal to minus 1. And if the value of x plus 1 by x is given as 1, then the value of x to the power 3 is equal to minus 1. These are very two important things that I want you people to remember. Let's come to quadratic equation, and we know that the minimum value of a quadratic equation is given when the value of x is minus b by 2a. So for this quadratic equation, we are taking the standard form that any quadratic equation can be written in the form of ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Now this comes from differentiation. For those of you who know differentiation, if I differentiate this function with respect to x, I get 2ax plus b to be equal to 0, or the value of 2ax is equal to minus b, or the value of x is equal to minus b by 2a. Now, if the value of a is greater than 0, then the function is increasing. I would have a minimum value of the function. And if the value of a is less than 0, that means the function is decreasing. I will be having a maximum value of the function. But whatever be it, I would be getting the minima or maxima when I put the value of x to be minus b by 2a. This works for both cases. X is equal to minus b by 2a works for both cases when the value of x, when the function is an increasing function or the function is a decreasing function. After this, let's come to logarithm. एंड logarithm में जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जो चीज़ है जो मैं आप लोगों को बताना चाहता हूँ, that is the number of digits. What is the number of digits in a to the power b? Now to calculate the number of digits in this, what you essentially need to do is calculate the value of log ab, a to the power b. This is nothing but b into log a, right? And whatever be the value of this, I have two parts, the characteristic and the mantissa. Now the number of digits is always equal to the characteristic plus 1. So please do not make any mistake in calculating the characteristic of a number. For any number n, it can be represented as c plus m, where c is the characteristic and m is the mantissa. What you need to understand is this is always integral in nature, and this is always fractional in nature if applicable. So m is the fractional part and c is the integral part. When I'm talking about 93.71, then c would be equal to 93, m would be equal to 0.71. The very important thing to note here is m always lie between 0 and 1. It can be equal to 0, but it would never be equal to 1. If it's equal to 1, the value would shift to c. For a negative number, let's say minus 93.71. For this, the characteristic would be equal to minus 92 and the mantissa would be equal to 0.29, because when I add these two numbers, which are fulfilling these two conditions, I get the original number. Now let's come on to PNC. Okay, in PNC, what do people need to know? If I need to find out the number of solutions to mod x plus mod y, it's equal to when this is given as k, the number of solutions would be equal to 4k, right? When I have three variables, that is mod x plus mod y plus mod z, let's say is equal to k, the number of solutions would be equal to 4k square plus 2. This is something I want you people to keep in mind. Then, another favorite question that comes from PNC, that I have a certain number of stations between two stations, let's say A and B. I have between A and B, I have n number of intermediate stations, and I need to choose k of those stations such that no two are consecutive. Now for that, the formula remains n minus k plus 1 C, that is combination k. So n, that is the number of intermediate stations minus the number of stops to in which I need to halt, plus 1 C k. K, that means the number of stations that I need to choose. This is a very important formula to be kept at mind. Now next, the total number of diagonals in any polygon. The total number of diagonals is given by the formula nc2 minus n. The total number of diagonals in any polygon, let's say I need to find out the number of diagonals in a hexagon. We know that in a hexagon the number of sides is equal to 6. Here n represents the number of sides. So the total number of diagonals would be 6c2 minus 6, that is equal to 9. The next thing, the application of this is very important. That is the number of ways to select 0 or more from n different things. This is given by the formula 2 to the power n. So in how many ways can I choose any number of fruits from five let's say different apples, 5 different apples. So that would be equal to 2 to the power 5. When I turn this question up and say that select at least one, then from 2 to the power n I need to subtract one case, and that one case is nothing but when I'm selecting no fruit at all, that is selecting 0 number of fruits. That can be done in only one way. So for selecting at least one, the formula would be equal to 2 to the power n minus 1. Let me write here select at least one, and for any number of selections the formula remains 2 to the power n. Now, the next thing is we all know the number of whole solutions or natural number solutions, right? But what if I give you that there are four, let's say, variables x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 is not equal to, but it's less than equal to n. So we know how to calculate whole number and natural number solutions when a certain number of variables is equal to some number. But what happens when it's lesser than equal to n? Now in that case, we just have to introduce a dummy candidate. So I will write this as x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus, let's say, a dummy candidate x, and this would be nothing but let this be equal to the number that we had previously in the right hand side. This dummy candidate would fill for all the positions that would not essentially come when I have less than equal to n but not in equal to n. So this is the use of the dummy candidate. Apart from this, we would be using the same formula to find out the whole number or natural number solutions, whatever is given in the question. So for any of these kind of questions where you have less than equal to symbol, just introduce a dummy candidate and do the rest. That would be the same. Now, the maximum number of points of intersection of n circles. The max number of points of intersection of n circles. This is given by the formula np2, and the maximum number of points of intersection of n lines is given by the formula nc2. This is also something that I want you people to keep in mind. Now, there's also a very important formula for a question rather that is not very comfortable for students, and the question is the number of different terms in the expansion of, let's say, a plus b plus c whole to the power n. The number of different terms in the expansion of this. Now for this, the number of different terms is given by the formula. We just have to find out the whole number of solutions to this. So whole number of solutions to a plus b plus c is equal to n. This comes from binomial theory. Now what does binomial theory tells us? Now whatever the exponent of these three terms in the expansion of this entire term b, the sum of the exponents, let's say, are a dash, b dash, c dash, it should be equal to the total exponent, the exponent that is given in the expression as well, right? So that is what is used, and this is how we find out the number of different terms when I have been given a plus b plus c or any number of variables to the power something. Come to another part of modern mathematics, that is progressions. This is also a part, this is also at times called as a part of algebra, whatever you call it. So here we'd be learning a few important things. Now if the pth term is equal to q and the qth term is equal to, let's say, p, then the rth term would be equal to p plus q minus r. This is something really very important. There's also a very important formula pertaining to the same thing. If the pth term is equal to q and the qth term is equal to p, then the p plus qth term would be equal to 0. The p plus qth term would be equal to 0. What are the important things that we have to keep in mind? Now if the sum of p terms, let's say, is equal to q and the sum of q terms is equal to, let's say, p, the sum of p plus q terms would be equal to minus of p plus q. Now these are very interesting formulas, but at times we tend to forget these, right? So what is a better way out if you forget the formula? Just take random numbers. Take the value of p is equal to 1, let's say. Take the number of q is equal to 2, let's say. Formulate what is equal to t1. T1 is equal to 2. What is equal to t2? T2 equal to 1. And then see what you need to find out. If you forget the formulas, a very good approach to solve these kind of questions is taking arbitrary numbers and solving them out. And now apart from that, what else is important? The sum of n odd natural numbers. The sum of n odd natural numbers is given by the formula n square, and the sum of n even natural numbers is given by the formula n into n plus 1. This works for the sum of first n odd or the first n odd or even natural numbers, right? What else? We also know that geometric progressions whole square is equal to geometric means whole square is equal to arithmetic mean multiplied by the harmonic mean. This is also very, very important. From this, I also want to tell you something, that if you are talking about positive real numbers, then the arithmetic mean is greater than equal to the geometric mean. AM is greater than equal to GM when we are talking about positive real numbers. Now, the next thing, m times the mth term, if this is equal to n times the nth term, then m plus nth term is always equal to 0. If m times the mth term, let's say if 3 times t3 is equal to 4 times t4, then t7, that is m plus n, is equal to 0. For this also you can take a random example and check that out if it's required for you. A very, very famous topic among you people, that is number system. Now in number system, what is the first thing that I can think of? A to the power 3 plus b to the power 3 is divisible by a plus b. This is something I want you people to remember. The number of ways that a number can be written a product of two factors. The number of ways in which any number n, let's say, can be written as a product of two of its factors is given by So I need to calculate the total factors of n divided by 2. This is the formula for that. Also, an extension of this formula that I've written here. Now, if a to the power n and b to the power n is given to us, a to the power n plus b to the power n, this is always divisible by a plus b, where n is odd. So a to the power n plus b to the power n is always divisible by n when n is odd. Now, regarding digital sums, that is digital root or digital sum, whatever you call it. Now, digital sum of perfect squares, that is of x to the power 2, the digital sum of a perfect square is always going to be either 1 or 4 or 7 or 9. The digital sum of a perfect square is going to be 1, 4, 7, 9, and of a perfect cube is going to be either 1 or 8 or 9. It's either 1 or 8 or 9. The next thing, a to the power x minus b to the power x is divisible by a minus b. A to the power x minus b to the power x is divisible by a minus b. Let's see some last two digits now, which are important. 24 to the power any odd number will end in 24. However, 24 to the power any even number would always end at 76. Now 76 to the power any number n will always end with 76, and 25 to the power any number n would always end up with 25. Now keep in mind that these exponents that we are talking about are positive integral numbers. Okay. What happens when I have a digit x and then a 5? When x5 has a power, has an even power, then if x is odd, this would always end with 25. Next, the product of factors. Let's say we have a number n, where n is equal to a to the power x into b to the power y into c to the power z. Now you can extend this. Now the product of factors n, the product of factors in n of n is given by the formula n to the power a plus 1 into b plus 1 into c plus 1 whole divided by 2, and you can also extend this for this part. So that if I talk about a number of solutions, let's say if I'm talking about number of solutions, then when n is of the form of 4k plus 2, when n is of the form of 4k plus 2, this number cannot be written as a difference of two perfect squares. So we can never write, let's say, 6 as a difference of two perfect squares, x square minus y square. But all other numbers can be written in the form of x square minus y square. Only the form 4k plus 2 type numbers cannot be written as a difference of two perfect squares. Now let's come to geometry. Now when I'm talking about geometry, then the first thing that comes in my mind is obviously triangles, and we have a lot of formulas for triangles, right? Remembering these many formulas for triangles is very difficult. So let's start off with triangles. Now in triangles we know that the area of a triangle can be written as r into s, where r is the in radius, s is the semi-perimeter. It can also be written as ABC by 4r, where ABC are the lengths of the sides and capital R here is the circumradius. It can also be written as half into AB into sine theta, where if this length is A, this length is B, this is theta, then we can use this formula. And all these three formulas are used to calculate the area of a triangle. Let's not forget the formula half into base into height, and the Heron's formula that gives you the area of triangle as S into S minus A into S minus B into S minus C, where S is the semi-perimeter, that is A plus B plus C by 2, and ABC are the lengths of the sides. Now these all are the formulas to calculate area of a triangle. So whenever you are told to calculate an area of a triangle, please do not forget this. The next theorem that I essentially want you people to remember is Apollonius theorem. Now the Apollonius theorem is very important when I'm talking about medians. This is the first theorem that should hit your mind. So if I have a triangle, let's say ABC, where AD is the median cutting BC into two equal parts, then I can write that the value of AB squared plus AC squared, the value of AB squared plus AC squared is nothing but twice of the diagonal square, that is AD square, plus you can take any of these two lengths, let's say BD square. This is the formula for Apollonius theorem. I want you people to keep this in mind. Now there are two very important things that you have to keep in mind, that if the triangle is an acute angle triangle, then A square plus B square is always greater than C square. C here is the largest side of the triangle. And if it's a right angle triangle, we all know that A square plus B square is equal to C square. And if it's an obtuse angle triangle, then A square plus B square has to be less than C square. These are three very important things that is really very important. The two very important formulas, the sine rule and the cosine rule. The sine rule, however, not that into action. The cosine rule might help you to solve questions that are not visible that clearly with your naked eye. Now, according to the cosine rule, if I have a triangle with, let's say, sides ABC, then A square would be equal to B square plus C square minus 2BC cos of angle A. Similarly, B square would be equal to A square plus C square minus 2AC into cos of angle B. And similarly, C square would be equal to A square plus B square minus 2AB into cos of angle C. The cosine rule plays very important roles when I have to find out a length of a side, when I only have two side lengths and one angle. So let's say I have A and B, I need to find out the length of side C. So if I have these two sides and one angle, I can easily find that out. This is another thing I want you people to keep in mind. Now we know that capital R is the circumradius of a triangle and small r is the inradius of a triangle. The circumradius of a triangle is always greater than or equal to twice of the radius of the triangle, and the area of the triangle can also be calculated using the formula r into r plus 2r. Now for a right angle triangle, the value of small r is equal to a plus b minus c by 2, where c is the hypotenuse, and the value of capital R is c by 2, where c is the hypotenuse. So what are the formulas that are important? We know that the sum of two sides is greater than the third side. It's also applicable for the sum of medians. Sum of two medians is greater than the third median. And we can also calculate the area of a triangle when all the three medians are given. Let's say the length of the medians are taken as x, y, and z. Then the area of the triangle would be equal to S into 4 by 3 into the modified Heron's formula, that is S into S minus X into S minus Y into S minus Z, where S is nothing but the value of X plus Y plus Z whole divided by 2. So this is a kind of modified Heron's formula that is applicable to medians. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is to multiply a 4 by 3 outside the root that we have. So a very important thing that I want you people to remember, that is the distance between the inradius and the circumradius in a triangle. Now the distance between small r and capital R is given by the formula root under of r squared minus 2 small r capital R. This is also something that is really very important as far as this goes. Now what else? Thing that you people need to keep in mind is the famous ladder's theorem. Now I have three lines which are which are parallel to each other and perpendicular to a base. I connect these lines like this. Let's say this is AB, this is C. I have not drawn it to scale, so let me make the line here. Let this point be C. I'll just remove this part out. Let this be C, this be D, this be E, and this be F. Now, among these three lengths, AB, CD, and EF, two would be given, and we always have to find out the third one. Keep in mind that these three lines are parallel to each other and perpendicular to the base. Now, if this length is P, this length is Q, and this is R, it's known to us that 1 by P plus 1 by Q would be equal to 1 by R. That is, the reciprocals of the lengths of the outer lines would be equal to the reciprocal of the length of the line that is between these two lines. This is very important, and we have questions on this appearing on the exam very common. The last thing for triangles. I would rather say let's take an equilateral triangle, right? Now for an equilateral triangle, we use Viviani's theorem a lot. Now, what is the Viviani's theorem? What does this theorem tell us? Now, let's say I have a equilateral triangle ABC. I have a point inside the triangle. It can be anywhere. If I draw three perpendiculars to the three sides, let this be O, this be M, this be N, this be P, then the length of OM plus ON plus OP is equal to the height of triangle ABC. The length of these three lines is equal to the height of the triangle, the height of the equilateral triangle, and we all know that it's equal to root 3 by 2 into A. Now, if that's done, what else would we do now? Let's start off with quadrilaterals. In quadrilaterals, you people know the basic formulas of rectangles, squares, and rhombuses, but what I want you to know apart from that is 4a square is equal to d1 square plus d2 square. And to which figure is this applicable? This is applicable to a rhombus, where the length of the side of the rhombus is equal to a and the two diagonals are d1 and d2 respectively. Next, the exterior angle. The exterior angle of a polygon is given by the formula 360 divided by n, where n is the number of sides. And the sum of angles for any polygon is given by the formula n minus 2 into 180 degrees, when n again is the number of sides. Now the next two very important things that I want you people to remember. One comes from the British flag theorem. Now we have a rectangle ABCD and any point inside the rectangle, that is O. Now according to the British flag theorem, the length of AO square plus OC square would be equal to OB square plus OD square. So if you take the two diagonals, then almost the two lines that would be corresponding to the if we add them would correspond to the diagonal. The sum of their squares are equal. This one's the first one. The second one comes for a trapezium. Now in a trapezium, if these two lengths are A and B respectively, the length of the parallel sides are A and B, and if C is a line that divides the entire trapezium into two equal halved areas, the areas are halved. So if this area is A, the area of the other part is also A, then the value of C is given by the formula root under of A square plus B square by 2. This is also something really very important. Finally, let's talk about a bit of circles. Now for circles, we know a few formulas. That is, if we have a circle with, let's say, center O and there's a chord AB, the angle subtended by the chord at the center and anywhere in the circumference, let this be point D, then the angle made at O and the angle made at D both are twice of the angle made at O is twice the angle made at D. So if this is theta, this angle would be 2 theta. That is, the angle subtended by a chord to the circumference is half to the angle subtended at the center. That if we have a circle with, let's say, center O and two chords cutting each other, the two chords are AB and CD. Let this point be equal to E. Then the product of the parts of the chord are equal. So that means AE multiplied by EB is equal to CE multiplied by ED. This is also something very, very important. Last but not the least one. Now, if we have a tangent PT to a circle, and from point P, if I draw a line cutting the circle at A and B, then PT square, that is the length of the tangents whole square, would be equal to the length of the entire line PB multiplied by the length of PA. This is something very important. Last but not least in this video. Now, if we have 3 circles each of the same radius and 4 circles each of same radius, the area that is painted in green, for the first case, the area would be equal to 4 by 25 of r square, and for the second case, the area would be equal to 6 by 7 into r square. Now this, even if are difficult to remember, you can easily calculate that out. You need to understand that these arc lengths, let's say these lengths, they are equal. So the triangle here is an equilateral triangle. Same for this one. The figure here is nothing but a square. This is an equilateral triangle and this is a square. You can also calculate that using normal values, putting in values and so calculating total areas minus subtracting areas that are not common. But however, if you remember these two formulas, you can easily do the questions within, I would rather say 10-20 seconds max. So please try to get hold of these formulas and shortcuts that I have told you today. And I can completely understand that we have discussed quite a few number of things that are not that easy to keep inside head. So basically, do not totally rely on shortcuts, I would rather say. But yes, if you keep these in mind and practice these things in a few questions, things would really get very, very easy for you. So before I end this video, guys, I wish you all the best for all the exams that are upcoming in your life. Please have a blast. Just be confident and focus on your basics. That would help you clear all the exams that you will be taking. All the best, guys. Before I end this video, I would also ask you people to go and check our website for the NMAT Snap crash course that we are having. You can also check out for the IFT crash course and the TIS 2020 course that we are having. You can check all the details in our website. About the NMAT Snap ebook, I don't have to tell much about it because this is quite a big success from our end. You get these features when you purchase the ebook. Also, you can go and check out every information about the test series that we provide. These are the tests we provide. We have all the information given in our website. And these are the features of our classes. We are live classes and it's really very time saving. It only takes 2 to 3 minutes to join the class, and you can also access the recordings anytime. These are our overall results. You can check them out. These are the 2019 results of NMAT. You can pause the video and check them out. And these are the reviews of Learn for Exam. You can pause the video anytime and check all the reviews that we have here. So guys, you can connect with us over YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and Snapchat at Learn for Exam. So please take care of yourself and be prepared for CAT and all the exams. I hope you would clear them very easily and very nicely. All the best. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.